So before any session at Royal Roads University, we would like to acknowledge that the campus is located in the land of the Kwasonso and the Kwangam ancestors and families. And it's with gratitude that now we learn here and work here together, where the past, the present, and the future of non-Indigenous and Indigenous people, students, faculty, staff come together. So welcome everyone. I would also like to take this time for everybody, if you want to introduce or let us know where you are joining us today, please use this time to acknowledge the land you are located in our chat box. So today we have an exciting session for you. We are going to be talking about the graduate certificate in transforming child protection to well-being. And we have a few people co-hosting this session with me. My name is Andrea Torres Lopez, and I'm a student recruitment manager at Royal Roads University. I would like to pass over to you, Kathleen, now to introduce the rest of the team.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andrea. It's fantastic to see everyone here. My name is Kathleen Manion. I am a professor and the program head for this program. And I am so excited to also welcome Vanessa and Martha here. So Vanessa, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name's Vanessa Currie, and I am in Mi'kma'ki territory in Nova Scotia, Canada. I'm the co-executive director at the International Institute for Child Rights and Development, which is affiliated with Royal Roads. And over to you, Martha.
My name is Martha Nelems, and I am also on the Lekwungen and Esquimalt speaking nations here in, also known as Victoria, Canada. I'm a senior associate with Child Frontiers, a consulting firm that works in child protection related research, evaluations, mapping, and also involved in child and family welfare systems reform. I'm glad to be with all of you today.
Thank you, Kathleen, Vanessa, and Martha, and everyone that is joining us today in this live session. So today's agenda, I'm going to talk really briefly about Royal Roads University and the Royal Roads University experience. And then I will pass over to Kathleen, that is going to talk about the program overview and is going to ask some very interesting questions to Martha and Vanessa and talk about the relevance of this program. At the end, I'm going to talk about the application and the requirements. And if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to add those into the chat. So Royal Roads, I got too excited. So for those that haven't been in Victoria or you are not where we are located, so Royal Roads University is a university that is located in Victoria, and these programs are designed for people that are working professionals. So you will see that most of the people that come to Royal Roads have some work experience, they have been working in the field, and they're ready to take their career to the next level. You will find also that our faculty and the people that teach in this program, they have the academic background, but they also have that experience. So they are bringing the knowledge of the workplace into a classroom. So you will find a lot of projects that you are going to be working through your program are real life challenges, and you will be able to solve those problems or have a great brainstorming and opportunities to get people's feedback through the program. You will find during the program, you are also going to be learning from your classmates. We want to make sure that when you are at Royal Roads, you have a space to share ideas, to interact with each other, and to learn from each other. We call that a safest place where everybody is welcome or open or have the opportunity to challenge each other in a very respectful way. Royal Roads will also do things slightly different. So we have something that we call flexible admissions that I'm going to explain more in detail about what that looks like for you and how we can support you through that application process. So there's a few pictures here. And the last thing I want to talk about Royal Roads is that Royal Roads for the last 26 years, we have been teaching in that blended model. So basically what that looks like is most of the work that you do is going to be done online, but you're also going to have an opportunity to interact with people in that face-to-face environment. So for us, creating that online community is important, and it starts with getting to know each other. So that said, I would like to pass over to you, Kathleen.
Fabulous, thank you. So I am super excited about this program. We are going to be moving into our second year of offering this. So it is a graduate certificate, which means that it is just 3 courses, credit courses. There are 2 additional short non-credit courses, 9 credits in total. If I could have the next slide, that'd be great. So it's unusual to start off by looking at the name. Transforming Child Protection to Wellbeing is quite a descriptive name for a program, but it really does encapsulate what we're trying to achieve in this program. It's really about looking at what systems we know currently around child protection, around child welfare, and really try to find ways that we could expand our understanding and the ways we're actually working with children, young people, their families, and the communities in which they're situated in to really augment and foster their well-being. So we, as a program, really dared to imagine a different system that recognizes the inherent strengths of children and young people, but also really promotes that sense of well-being. So there's a couple of things that are embedded into the program, the way that we're actually delivering it. It is strengths-based, so we do focus on what are the things that are working well and how can we develop them further. We're also looking at outcomes-based approaches to the concept of child well-being. So there are a lot of different definitions about child well-being, and we talk a lot about that in the program. But really exploring what aspects do we need to put into being in place to really support the outcome of child well-being. It's kind of the heart of the work that we are doing and the work that we're promoting in the program. But we're also looking at more cerebral, more brain-focused work in looking at the critical perspectives on child protection and really spending some time unpacking what are some of the assumptions that have gone into the systems that we have in place, what are some of the things that are working well, but also what are some of the things that we might want to challenge and we could develop further in our child and family focused programming, both in Canada, but also globally. We also really draw on theoretical and practical aspects. So it's a lovely weaving of these 2 elements. And I will soon bring in Vanessa and Martha into the conversation. But one of the things that's really exciting about the program is it is a combination of the experiences, knowledge, and expertise of the people that are teaching in the program, which allow us to really draw on what is in academic literature. What are the theoretical things that are supporting good processes and programs that are supporting children and their families, but also draw on the practical wisdom of those that have been in this space with all of the instructors that are in the program, but also with a range of guest speakers who come in to support the work that we're doing. And in that, we're drawing on a range of different fields, keeping it interdisciplinary. We are looking at child protection, both globally and locally. We're also looking at child and family welfare. We draw on our knowledge and experience with child development, but also looking to the legal frameworks, looking at child rights, again, locally and internationally. As we said, we're drawing on international and local knowledge and capacities, and it's actually a really beautiful dialogue that comes up within the program, which we've seen so far in this year, is the conversations of those that are working in the global south or in international settings, and those that are local within the Canadian context, including a number of students who are coming from Indigenous communities, and really exploring the intersections between what we're learning in the global south and what we're learning in Indigenous communities, and what Indigenous ways of knowing and being can bring to an international dialogue on child well-being. Lastly, we really like to weave in a systems approach, exploring the concept of how different elements of a system interact and can either support or negate the work that's done by individual actors. So by taking that systems perspective, we really hope to promote the concept of a child well-being. Thanks, Andrea. So the program structure, as I said, it's 3 courses. It's just a little bit over 3 months long. We actually start with 2 foundational courses, which are non-credits. So one is to support you into an academic environment if you haven't been in an academic environment for a while, or you haven't been within the within a Royal Road setting before. So we give you an introduction to academic integrity, which will support you going through the program. We also have this other course, the Foundations for Success, which is really tailored to your learning, and it's also tailored to the way we work within Royal Roads University. We do have quite a strong emphasis on cohort-based learning. We have a strong emphasis on outcomes-based learning, as well as team-based learning. So within this first course, you'll get to know one another, you'll get to know the university, how we work, and we'll support you particularly with team-based learning perspectives and tools in order to do well as you move into the 3 credit courses. So the first course is, as in any program, a foundational course. It's called Foundations. It is looking at reframing child well-being in complex global realities. This is an online course. Within this course, you're going to start to look at what are some of the systems that are in place currently. What are the policies that underline these? What are the assumptions that actually propel these forward? From there, we're going to move into 502, which is more focused on practice, which Vanessa and Martha taught this past year. This one is looking at promoting children's well-being in a range of different ways that you can do that within practice. It draws on case studies in order to do that, and it looks at a range of different ways in which you can promote children's well-being. And that's also an online course. The third course is actually going to be in this next year is going to be a blended course. So 502, Tools and Approaches for Change, is where we actually bring that theory and practice that we've worked on in the 2 preceding courses into this one where we're actually playing with tools. And again, Martha taught this course as well, along with Laura Wright this past year. And in this course, we're really looking at how do you apply this? How do you actually play with some of the tools, and what are those approaches that are most appropriate in different settings? This coming year, this is going to be blended. So the majority of the course is going to be online, but you're going to come to Victoria for 1 week so that you can work intensely together and build on the relationships you've already started throughout the program up until that point. And that is the program in a nutshell. Next slide, please. So again, I had mentioned that this is a unique program because it was developed in close partnership between Royal Roads University, with the experience we have in teaching graduate programming, but also with the International Institute for Child Rights and Development, of which Vanessa is representing, and Child Frontiers, of which Martha is representing today. And we thought what would be fun is for us to move into a little bit of a dialogue in terms of some of the underlying concepts that have supported the development of this program. So with that, I am going to turn the questioning over to Vanessa and Martha, and just kind of open up a dialogue to ask, why should we focus on children's well-being? What are some of the benefits of that, moving from child protection? Vanessa, did you want to go first?
Sure, thanks, Kathleen. So great to have this chance to speak with you all today. This, as Kathleen was saying, this is such an exciting course, and we really are passionate about this topic. Martha and myself and the other co-instructors have all been working in child protection, most of us for decades, and we have really seen the need for some reform within the sectors that we work. And part of this is really focused around how do we start to focus more on children's well-being? How do we look at creating holistic systems that really support children and families to address some of the challenges that they're facing? So for me personally, when I think about children's well-being, I think about well-being in the physical sense, in the mental sense, in social and spiritual, but also in the natural world, in the environment that children find themselves in. So it's really looking at children within this broader context and trying to understand how can we support them to be well and to be able to do their best and thrive in their environments. Martha, over to you to add anything else in.
That was beautifully put, Vanessa. I guess all I want to add is that the reason why we want to focus on children's well-being is because the focus on child protection, the response to harm, has been insufficient. We've seen that we haven't been able to promote children in the context of their families and communities with such a limited focus on responding to harm, violence, exploitation, abuse, and neglect. So the shift to children's well-being allows us to be more proactive, allows us to focus on prevention, not just response, and allows us to take a broader perspective, focusing on children in the context of their families and communities where they live and where the promotion of their well-being and the protection of children happens. I think children's well-being focus also enables us to think about the relationships that happen to support children's well-being between communities and community members and families, as well as the formal government actors. So it just enables a broader, more holistic response.
Beautiful. Thank you both. I love that you really focused on the relational aspect, but also the holistic aspect that is embodied in the concept of well-being, but also that you're seeing it as an evolution, or explaining as an evolution of what we already know and what we've already been doing, but looking to something bigger, better, more. So the next question, Andrea. I'll start with Martha first. Given that the program is focusing on transforming child welfare and child protection systems, what do you think are some of the considerations or the thoughts around transforming these systems? What do we need to put in place to do this?
So I think, first of all, the focus has to be that it's on change and reform. What we're working on in the Institute for Child Rights and Development and Child Frontiers, and often with funding from UNICEF, is real reform and real change. We're not talking about tinkering at the edges. And it was so wonderful to have students working in Indigenous communities that are also really working on fundamental change and reform. So I think the first consideration is that we're not talking about tinkering at the edges. We're talking about fundamental reform at the core of what we're doing. So that's the first consideration. The second consideration is that, you know, when we talk about transforming and changing systems, we need to hear from the people that are in those systems. So these approaches require participatory approaches where we're listening to children and families and communities about, you know, what is culturally relevant? What are the strengths of their systems? What are the positive traditional practices? What are the harmful traditional practices? You know, what's appropriate to a system change and reform culturally? What's realistic in terms of the capacity of the people in the system, both at the community and family level and at the more formal government level? What's appropriate in terms of resources, money? You know, what are the capacity of those people within the system? How can we support capacity building? So I think whenever we talk about reform, we need to understand that it's fundamental transformational reform. And then we have to think about what's culturally relevant, what's appropriate, and what's realistic. And to get at all of that, at the core of it, the foundation is participatory approaches. And both Vanessa's organization and my own, we really focus on participatory approaches that draw on the strengths of communities and are central to the reform. So over to you, Vanessa.
Yeah, that was such a great overview, Martha. And I would just maybe add to that to say that one of the things that we do throughout the courses is to really center the experience of the students. So wherever they are at in their own professional journeys, whatever entry points they have into the systems that they're working, what are the places that they can create meaningful change and meaningful reform? So we try and have a very practical approach to thinking about reform from the perspective of the students, and really work with them to create action plans and develop new tools and approaches to creating that change that they want to see in the systems. And as Martha said, we're also building on tools and approaches to engaging and listening to the voices of young people, of families and community members, especially those who don't often have their voices heard within these systems. So this is a process of really having an opportunity to uncover or discover new ways that you in your own lives can work towards reform. But we also look at more sort of broader policy and major governmental shifts that need to take place, and spend time discussing how we can have an influence on those systems within which we work.
Yeah, maybe just to add to that, Vanessa, that was great that you added that. I mean, some of the students that we worked with in the first cohort, they were working in a range of systems. They might have been working in the BC Ministry of Children and Families, so thinking about policy and programming across the province. They might have been working in foster care or respite situations locally, so thinking about the ways in which foster care is managed. They might have been working with UNICEF, and they were also working with Indigenous nations who are taking, high-level reform. So when we talk about systems, we're thinking big picture child and family welfare, which is inclusive of child protection systems, but we're also talking about reformed programs, reform to policy implementation processes, reforms to approaches. So it's across really a broad range of venues, and it was really exciting to see the ways in which students could apply what they were learning to the context in which they were working.
Yeah, I totally agree. It really was. And also to say that we also had some students who were new to child protection and child welfare.
Yes.
And we're looking at ways that they could sort of switch gears in their careers to open up new opportunities. And I think the course is also very relevant for people who are looking to come into these systems that do have inherent challenges and think about how they'll enter into this workforce with a different frame of reference in terms of the approach to the work.
And, one of the things that was really exciting was how the work that Vanessa and I do internationally was relevant to people working in First Nations communities or working in foster care in Alberta, and then how the experiences of First Nations communities or locally in Canada was relevant to the international work. So we've been through one cycle and we've had one cohort, and we just were really pleased with how those learnings built on each other and enriched each other. So whether you're working internationally or at a national level or provincial level or locally, this course can draw on what you're learning, and you can add to what other students are learning, and you'll gain as well.
Great, thank you so much. So lots of things to look at in terms of what you've just shared, and really to just further suggest that the program itself starts with where students are at and builds from there, really looking at the embeddedness of the system, exploring where the inherent knowledge is, drawing on those participatory tools, as you said, but also kind of balancing that big picture reformative, not just tinkering, but engaging with some difficult, challenging work, while also realizing what's practicable, what can you actually apply and what can you actually do. So kind of balancing the big picture and the big asks with the tangible and doable. Thanks so much. So the last question is really looking at what you've just brought up, Martha, which is that interesting dialogue that has emerged in the program, and we had hoped it would from the outset, is what are the benefits of learning between the Global South and Indigenous ways of knowing, but also other actors within the Global North. And Vanessa, maybe we'll start with you.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably one of the most interesting points of the course. And for myself personally, I have experience working in international communities and also working alongside Indigenous communities, and have seen firsthand how the learning really moves across so beautifully. I think when we're thinking about reform, a lot of the things that children and families are asking for in terms of reform in these systems, a lot of it is the same, no matter where you're from or which system that you're engaging with. These are, for the most part, colonial systems that are implanted on communities, and there's a real need to shift the way that the work is done and how it's done. And so these conversations across communities and across cultures really open up opportunities to share innovation and new ways of looking at things and looking at opportunities. I think we can get overwhelmed a lot of the times with the challenges that exist in our systems. And so to be able to pull on and draw from exciting examples of positive change globally is a really exciting thing to be able to do. Martha?
I don't think I have much to add. That was really well put. One of the comments from a student working in northern BC in Indigenous communities was, I can't believe how relevant this learning about Timor-Leste, which is one of the poorest countries in Asia, in Southeast Asia, near Indonesia. I can't believe how relevant the experience of post-conflict Timor-Leste is to this First Nations community in northern BC, where we're building a new child and family welfare system. So that was the comment of one of the participants, and I think that was really powerful. So that's what I just wanted to add, that our students are finding the learning across cultures, across nations is really relevant and enriching, and has been for us as well as instructors, as professors.
Lovely, thank you. And I think just to add to that, the idea of, Vanessa, as you said, that these systems overlap, right? So of course they are bespoke, they are particular to a given community, and yet there are lessons to share that definitely overlap. And the idea of shifting beyond a colonial system is really important, of just sharing stories, sharing successes, but sharing those pain points that we're seeing in different systems, and providing a different way of thinking or seeing an issue gives rise to space for innovation to emerge. So any last thoughts that you wanted to add before we get into more of logistics of the program itself?
Well, just to riff on what you were saying, Kathleen, this course is really about challenging people to look at the ways they're working in new ways. How can they do better to support children and families and communities? And so we're really encouraging people from the first course, when they're looking at theories, to understand the context of the system in which they're working, then to look at case studies critically, and then to move into looking at tools and approaches critically. So we really are taking a critical lens to the ways in which we work, but it's also supportive. It's supportive of finding practical first steps, ways of change. I think our students have left the first cohort feeling supported to take those first steps towards reform. And I'd like to think that they're not feeling overwhelmed by all that it involves, but encouraged and supported to do so.
Any final thoughts, Vanessa?
Just to say, come join us. It's fun, it's exciting, and I think we're really interested in learning together. I mean, this is, whenever we think about reform or system change, we know that we need all hands on deck. We need everyone alongside each other, really working and pushing for change from whatever angle you come at it from. So please come join us.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks, Vanessa. So one of the questions we often get is, who is this for? So Andre, if you want to skip to the next slide, we have envisioned that this program is for a range of different people, but people who are particularly interested in supporting children and young people. That's the thing that's going to pull the cohort together. But professionals that are currently working in or aspire to work in child protection or child and family welfare or within children's rights, again, both locally or globally, would be great. Those who have worked internationally, that skill set and that experience will be welcomed, but also those that are working locally or nationally within non-governmental organizations. UN staff would be lovely. Those that are working in policy could also gain from this and gain new insights. Social workers, child rights advocates, those that are working in the front line, those government employees that have a particular focus on children and young people. Definitely researchers will gain new knowledge in this space, and those that are working in child and youth care also will be welcomed, but also will learn a lot from this space. We've also seen a few teachers interested in this, so that's another area that is useful. And with that, I think I am turning it back over to you, Andrea.
Thank you. So now I'm going to talk about how to apply to this program. So at Royal Roads, when you are applying, there is two options for you. One is coming through standard admissions and the other one is coming through flexible admissions. However, when you start your application process, there is no box that you need to click. The person that is adjudicating your application will decide if you are coming from standard or flexible admissions. Once you start this process, if you are not sure about it, please let us know, and we are going to be more than happy and welcome to support you through the process. So for standard admissions, we are looking for people that have a 4 years undergrad degree on comparable program relevant in the field with a minimum of a GPA of a B+ from a recognized post-secondary institution. It can be an institution in Canada or pretty much anywhere around the world. We are also looking for at least 2 years of relevant work experience in some capacity with children, preferable at the leadership or management level. And the last piece, once you need to, when you start your application process, you need to complete a personal statement. And that personal statement is very important, that you are addressing how you consider your academic education to be relevant and related for this program. Flexible admissions are for people that basically don't have those qualifications that we're looking for standard admission. So they might have maybe lower GPA that we are looking for, and maybe they don't meet all the requirements. So if you don't have an undergrad degree, we normally ask for people that have 10 years of work experience with a minimum of 2 years of relevant professional experience in a leadership or a management capacity, and a combination of education plus work experience. For those people that don't have the GPA requirement, we are looking for at least 5 years of relevant work experience. Kathleen, let me know if you want to jump at any time, if you want to add any value and unpack how this looks like for. Once again, when you complete your personal statement, it's very important that you explain how you are meeting these requirements and how your personal, professional, and career, academic career, is meeting those requirements they are looking for. For people that are coming through flexible admissions, we will also require to complete and take the academic writing and critical thinking before the program starts. And it's very important, when you complete that program, you obtain a minimum of B+, that would be around 77%. Anything else that you would like to ask, Kathleen?
I just need a couple things. This academic writing and critical thinking course is well liked. It is a course that students really enjoy, and it does support students, particularly those that may have not been in school for some time. It does bring them back into a place, or introduces them into a place where they're ready to be writing at the graduate level. So it's a fantastic course that students with coming in under flexible admission are able to do. But also, in thinking about submitting your flexible admission application, really give thought to that personal statement. That really does matter, and make it your particular experience applicable. You can be creative about what constitutes your work and relevant work, but also in terms of leadership. So do also include volunteer work, for instance, in that. But I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. And we also hear a lot from our students when some of the students that are coming through standard admissions, they are very curious and they have been maybe out of school for a long time. And they also complete that academic writing and critical thinking before they start the program, and they see the value. If they give them that assurance that they have all the tools that they need to be successful into the program. So if you are coming through standard admissions, please know that that program is also available for you to take. So upcoming intakes, our next intake is September 26, 2022, and the deadline is approaching, is June 26, 2022. So now how you can start applying for this program. So first you will need to complete an online application, and the cost is $131.39. And then you need to complete or submit the following documents. The first document that you need to submit are official transcripts. For be official, they have to come either on a sealed envelope from the university that you complete the course or the college, or a lot of institutions, due to COVID now, they're sending formal information through an email to Royal Roads. So just please make sure that when you are requesting those official transcripts, that what options are available for you, and if they can send them directly to Royal Roads, I will choose that option so you can check the first box of your application process. The next one is a personal statement. That is the statement that Kathleen was talking about, how you can creatively talk about the work experience that you have, how you can explain about that leadership experience, either through a volunteer activity or through the full-time job that you're currently having. Maybe if you're a consultant, what kind of projects are you working? What kind of value are you adding to the organization? So there's many ways that you can frame your personal statement and provide that knowledge to the people that are going to be looking at that statement. I also have to say, personal statement, I'm a Royal Roads grad. That was my favorite document because it was a time for me to stop and ask myself, why do I want to apply to this program? How this program is going to add value to the work I'm currently doing, and it's going to help me to progress in my career and in my personal life. So it's a good time for you to reflect the how and why and how we are going to add value, and also what value are you adding to the program, because you are bringing your expertise into the Royal Roads classroom. The next document is a structured resume. This resume, we want to see a few things. We want to know about your academic experience. So let's say if you did a few years of college and then you complete your undergrad program at university, we want to know about all the courses that you took. We also want to know about your work experience. In the work experience and volunteer activities, it's very important that you give us the title that you have, but also the organization that you were working and the framework, the time that you were working in that institution. You can also provide in a small bullet points or a small paragraph what kind of responsibilities you have in each of those jobs or roles. As I said, any volunteer activity that you are doing or you were part of, if you are part of any affiliation or association, please be free to add any information that you think will be relevant for us to know when we're assessing that your application. And the next document are 2 letters of reference. They can be one academic or one professional. And just as a tip, if you feel comfortable, please share your personal statement with the people that are writing those letters, so they have a better understanding of why you're applying to the program, and they can highlight a specific project or a specific activity. They can maybe highlight your leadership skills and any work that you have done with that person. The last thing that I want to add here is that we have something that is called, oh, no, I lost my word. But basically, once you apply, we will look your application. So it's not that we wait until the date of the deadline. So once you submit your application and you submit all the documents, we'll be start assessing your application. And financial aid. So we have a lot of options available for you. There's loans, awards, research scholarship, and other funding. Depending of the program, in this case, it will be a graduate certificate that you are taking. Depending on the province that you are located, maybe your workplace, it might give you some options of funding. So each of you story might be slightly different on what your needs are. So for that case, I highly recommend to connect with our financial aid team, where they will be able to provide a better understanding what is your situation and how we can support you, or what kind of funding is available for you. And our enrollment services will be happy to support you through all this process. If you want to learn more about the program, if you would like to connect with a current student or one of our faculty, the enrollment team can be a bridge to create those connections. They're available from Monday from 8:30 to 4:30 Pacific time, but I'm also providing here the phone number and the email that you can connect them. If you have any questions, you can always scan the QS code WhatsApp that is in your screen at this point, and you can start chatting with them. So with that, I want to pass over to you, Kathleen, Vanessa, or Martha, if you want, and if there is anything else that you would like to share with the audience today.
So I also just want to invite anyone who has questions to please put them in the chat. We're happy to answer them. And if questions emerge for you later, those admission links that Andreas just shared with you are a great source of information. But you can also reach out to me as program head anytime. Before I jump in with some common questions, Vanessa, Martha, anything you wanted to add?
I just wanted to add that I was quite moved by how supportive the cohort was of one another. People that had worked internationally and had a lot of experience, or people that had worked nationally, really encouraging people that were trying to switch into this field and had maybe some support with respite care or foster care, but hadn't worked professionally beyond volunteer work. So I think one of the real joys of this program is how the cohort supports one another and encourages one another. And I think it's just important to emphasize that, regardless of your experience, you'll be supported by us as the instructors, but you'll also be supported by your peers in really lovely ways.
Beautiful. Thank you, Martha. And with that, I should say, I touched on it slightly at the beginning, but Royal Roads University does use a learning, teaching, and research model that does emphasize a number of elements, but it's a well thought through approach to teaching and learning, which does emphasize cohort-based, team-based, and outcomes-based learning, along with a few other elements. So that's important to know that it's undergirded the work that we do. Just in thinking of some of the common questions that we do get prior to admission, we often have people ask about what do courses actually look like. So just give you a little indication of what that looks like. So the credit courses are all 9 weeks long. They are structured week by week. So even though they are online and some of the work is asynchronous, or most of the work is asynchronous, it is contained within a week. So there are things that you're expected to do within a given week, though you have flexibility to make that work within your own schedule and own time zone that you have. So we do it with a range of different tools. You will have readings that you're doing. There will be some form of discussion. We will have some live sessions. Those are going to be arranged to meet as many schedules as possible. So they're not standardized. It will be in consultation with the cohorts when they come through, because we are looking at multiple time zones. There will be a number of assessments that students will have throughout the course. That's another part of our learning, teaching, and research model, is that we like to assess people in different ways to ensure that we are supporting a diversity of learners and ways people are learning. The courses will have a little bit of a gap between them. So after 9 weeks, you have a bit of a gap before you start the next one. And the learning is iterative. We've mentioned that kind of a few times, that we start with theory, we move into practice, and then we start to look at tools themselves. So it is iterative. It does build on one another. We also do have students who will be joining us that aren't within the cohort, that are from other parts of Royal Roads University taking other degrees, particularly in that first course. So that just adds to the dialogue in that first course. Andrea, any other common questions that you can think of that we might want to just pull on?
I would say people are always super curious how people are able to manage workload, school, families. So I know you touched a little bit, but maybe if you can unpack, like, it's normal for people to be working while they do this program. Like, what kind of responsibilities are the people have besides school?
Perfect. Yes, that is a common question. Thank you. So Royal Roads University is a purpose-built university. It was specifically built with working professionals in mind. So that has been where we've come from, and it is something that we still hold on to strongly. So the courses are structured in such a way that you can continue to work full-time, and most of our students do work full-time. That's why you only have one course at a time. It's also why there is flexibility in terms of when you're completing some of the assignments, to make it work within your given lifestyle, within the work you have, within the family commitments that you have. But it is still structured, so it's not completely open. It's still structured so that there's certain things that you are completing within a given week. What we say in a 9-credit course is that you are expected to put in 99 hours of student effort, and that covers the readings that you're doing, the assignments that you're doing, and the discussions that you're having. So in a 9-week course, that means you're working about 11 hours a week on it. It's going to be a little bit more in some spaces within the course and a little bit less in others. And of course, there is diversity among students. Some people are a little slower or they're a little more diligent and others are quick. So it's going to be a little bit different depending on your particular learning styles, but that gives you an indication of what it looks like.
And just to add, Kathleen, the 1 week that we do need people to be fully committed is the residency week, the intensive in the 3rd course. So that'll be a 1 week commitment in person.
Yes, absolutely. So that'll be in the spring of 2023. And in that course, it's a good point to bring up, Martha. In that course, the expectations of the other weeks online are going to be a little lighter, given that you are coming more intensely for that 1 week. Fantastic. Any questions people wanted to add?
While we give them a few more seconds, something I would like to add as you were talking, Kathleen and Martha, we always hear from students as some of the recommendations for new students is like, just be kind with yourself at the beginning because it takes time to learn how to learn. So if you have not been in school for a while, maybe that first week is going to take you a few more hours as you start getting yourself back in that academic world. So take your time, enjoy it. This is something that you're doing for yourself. You are investing in your future. So just it's a ride. It's a 9 months ride that you are going to enjoy. And I actually have a question for you, Kathleen. When people come to Victoria for that week, what students can expect during the day? Like, are they going to be in class most of the day, doing some team assignments? Should people be working remotely while they're that week on campus?
Beautiful question. Thank you for that. So the idea is that you're going to be full-time in the course. So please take that time off. Make sure that you have the space to really engage with the material. You will be in class for the majority of that. We might get really creative and send you around our beautiful campus. So those that aren't familiar with Victoria get a chance to see the campus and experience a few of the tools and approaches that we use that are nature-based. But you can expect to be in a classroom, but not necessarily in lectures. That's not that's something that you're going to see. You're going to be having a range of different activities. You might have guest speakers coming in and sharing their ideas. And then you're going to be breaking off with your teams and actually playing with the tools and approaches and doing different elements. I'm actually going to ask Martha if you wanted to add anything to that.
Sure. We just ran the intensive, and unfortunately, because of the situation with COVID, we did it online, but we did it. We did a range of activities where we did a guest lecture usually every morning, or Laura and I lectured. And then we had breakout groups with 2 or 3 students meeting to talk about what they were learning. And then we typically did an activity. Sometimes we had the students go away and do the activity and then come back and present the next day. But it was super participatory and really fun. So it was a really great experience. And I think next year it'll be even better if we can be in person.
Say that is anything else that you would like to add, Kathleen?
I don't think so. I think that we are done if there are no questions.
I think we did a fantastic job providing all the information to people. But as you say, Kathleen, if you have any questions after maybe you watch this recording link, feel free to connect with us and we'll be happy to either connect you with the best person to answer those questions or provide additional details. And we say we look forward to see you in the fall, hopefully online.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Vanessa and Martha, for joining. And thank you for all the participants. And thank you, Andrea, for leading us.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.